don't make those noises just before I start the show.
Okay.
What character was that, Shane?
Okay. I don't know.
I thought it was Sir David Attenborough for a moment. Anyway, he is not Sir David Attenborough. He is Shane O'Connor in the English Midlands. Pull yourself together like a pair of curtains. And I am Adrian in the southeast of England. Great to have you along. This is Comedy Slab episode 106. And in a wee while, we're going to put on the slab of comedy, hence the name, Richard Herring's radio show, a Radio 4 comedy drama called Relativity. But before we get there, this just in. Do you have some news, or do you want me to go first, darling?
No, I'm just going to mention, if you hear any extraneous noises, any noises off, it's just Twiglet the cat, who is sharing the office with me this evening. In fact, and just to prove it, here we go, hang on. Right on cue.
It's fast breathing.
For no other reason than she's just come in through the window, and if I don't get her in
That's
now...
That's a Beatles song, isn't it?
That's what she came through the window. It was about a fan, wasn't it, that? She came in through the window. It was about, wasn't it about somebody who broke into Jane Asher's house, parents' house?
Oh.
And
because that was in Harley Street, and Paul was living there when he was going out with
He was
Jane,
in the basement, wasn't he, I think? But I think the fan broke into the house and didn't really know what to do. When they kind of got in, and they were like, oh, didn't think it'd be this easy. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. What, was I invited for dinner?
Yeah. But no, so if I don't... Basically, I spent last night hiding amongst the rhubarb with a light strapped to me. Hang on, tail in my face there.
I should...
trying to get her back in. So if I don't get her... Sorry, hang on, she just sat on my keyboard. I'm all right now. It's okay. Just talk amongst yourselves. So if I don't get her in now, it will be a real trauma for me later. So we're going to have to just put up with her prowling about the place. But she'll be fine. She'll be okay. Anyway, sorry, you were saying some news, comedy news, Justine.
Oh, well, yes. This is, as we speak, up to the minute. We hope one day soon. It is old news. It is about the comedy clubs that were standing by to reopen. This is post-lockdown. And as we speak, we've just had in the last 24 hours a last-minute U-turn that's thrown the industry into chaos again. This you'll find more details on the fabulous comedy-related website, chortle.co.uk. But I don't know about you. I don't want to get too political, ladies and gentlemen. But, 1 minute Boris is saying it'll all be over by Christmas, which they said about the First World War, and look how that ended up. And the next minute it's, I'm saving your loved ones. Well, you can't be doing both or flip-flopping between the two. Which is it? Are you saving pubs, the economy, or are you saving loved ones? Or are you not really sure what the heck you're doing? What's your take on it?
You're right. I mean, somebody was saying, what's the difference between meeting your family in your home, which you can't do in certain areas now, and meeting them down the pub? But as my very wise wife said to me, and believe me, she's the first to be critical of anybody, including me. In fact, I'm normally first in the queue. But she said, actually, in fairness, she said, if the pub is operating properly, they should have some social distancing measures in place. So if you are meeting in a public place, then that kind of kicks that argument into touch. It has been very badly communicated, and you're right. I mean, he can't say it's going to be over by Christmas, because nobody knows that it's going to be over by Christmas, or it could be over by Christmas, and something else could happen after Christmas. So it's a ridiculous thing to say, isn't it? Really. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm just trying to kind of live my own life and do my own thing, and if I go to the shops, I put a mask on. I've got like a scary Halloween one, which seems to do the trick. It was really weird, actually. I went into a shop the other day with a hat on and a camouflage face mask, and I thought, if I'd have come into this shop like this 10 months ago, or probably a year ago or something, they'd have called the police. Yeah. Now you get a round of applause. It's bizarre, isn't it? Really. So
they call the police if you don't turn up.
If you don't do it, yeah. And there are. I don't get these people who don't want to do what they're asked. Have you seen these people who they don't want to wear masks, and you kind of think, do you get that? I mean, I get the whole civil liberties thing.
No, it's like I want the right to shoot myself in the foot. Nobody's going to stop me. But did you hear about this guy who is protesting against face masks? That should be in air quotes, not that you can see them, dear listener. And it turns out he has a very buff body.
Yeah.
He was almost in the nuddy. He had face masks, not in the normal facial place. A face mask covering his gentleman's excuse me.
Yeah.
And it was protesting, but of course he wasn't arrested because he wasn't actually doing anything illegal because it wasn't obscene.
And he was wearing a face mask.
He was wearing a face. Well, he was in the open air where you don't have to. But yes, I take your point. Technically and actually, he was wearing a face mask.
The thing that worried me about that, and is that somebody who used the mask after him will go, blimey, who's been wearing this?
Where's this been?
Their breath's bad.
Well, before people write in to say, well, actually, technically, they are disposable. Have you got one more piece of news, comedy news, before we fly properly into our review section?
Only that. Well, a couple of things, really. I did tell you that I would tell you when I'd finished watching The Reluctant Landlord with Ramesh Ranganathan.
Oh, yes. I thought that was one of those promises, a bit like Boris Johnson's, that you couldn't keep, but you've actually kept it then.
Yeah, it's really weird, actually, because I really enjoyed it, and it's now got me onto another programme which I never thought I'd watch.
Not the... oh, no, I think you'd seen it before. There's something where he makes a play on Nation, Ranga Nation.
No, I'm not. He's got a new one out, hasn't he, I think, where he does... What's these latest... The Misadventures of Ramesh Ranganathan. I'm not interested in any of those kind of things. I like the scripted comedy myself. But no, the woman who played his wife, and I can't remember her surname, Sian somebody. Do you remember her? I'd have to quickly look.
I can just about see her.
She's a ready strawberry blondie kind of hair, hasn't she? Sean Gibson,
right?
Who played Natasha in Car Share, and I've kind of gone on to.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to start watching Peter Kay's Car Share, which I'm not. I got this kind of mixed emotions with Peter Kay. I'm not sure whether I really like him. In fact, my wife said that as well. She said, "Do you want to watch Car Share?" And she said, "I'm not really sure whether I like Peter Kay." I said, "Well, I'll give it a go." So we're gonna give that a bash and see how we get on with that and whether it's any good. But as a result of watching her in The Reluctant Landlord, so it kind of spins one to the other, doesn't it? Really, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Not too bad.
Right. My main issue with it, just before we move on, was if you remember his delivery. I just found it too throwaway for me. Like he didn't really believe in it. But I know that's an old school kind of old man complaint. And
I think you've got a few old man complaints, haven't you, though?
Well, to be fair, they've developed... I've got something that Brian Mays tweeted about.
I noticed you shuffling about in a rubber ring there, and I thought he's either been to the beach...
been to something else.
Yeah. But yeah,
has been to the beach.
I think without rehashing episode 97 of the Comedy Pad Slobcast...
I doubt you could. Is that purple lace tonight? I'm the lacer.
We should change the name, I think. The Comedy Pad Slobcast.
Slober as a judge.
Yeah.
Quickly, make your point and move on. They'll never notice.
Oh yeah, what we did say, didn't we, that he played it as himself, which is a bit odd, isn't it? Really, and famous people do that, don't they? They appear, they kind of. He didn't. Frank Skinner do that in a sitcom, I seem to remember, where he was like kind of. Although he had a different. I think wasn't he called Shane? Wasn't there a Frank Skinner?
Oh well. I could understand why you'd want to forget that.
Sounded brilliant to me, but there you are. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Carry on.
Yes, as usual. Right, well, let's get into the meat of it. Are you laughing at Twiglet?
Or, the Comedy Pad Slobcast.
I don't think... Can you just spell that out so I can... Comedy Pants Slobcast.
That's even better, isn't it?
It's a bit like the British broadcasting castration that became a thing.
It's better in a way, isn't it? I think we've invented a new genre called slobcasts.
Well, the listener can't see how you're dressed, but it seems totally appropriate with that olive unironed T-shirt. Don't lift it up, for goodness sake.
This is actually my gardening T-shirt as well. I've been out in the garden all day today because it's only been 106 in the shade, so I thought it'd be a great idea to do some physical activity. Why are you like that? What is the matter with us?
I don't know. But anyway, 106 in the shade, and back to episode 106 of the... See what I did there? Yeah, the Comedy Slab. So what we do each week, if you're new to the show, a special welcome to you. It's lovely to have you along. Don't forget to subscribe, more details later. But essentially, we put a comedy, be it TV, radio, podcast... did I say podcast?
Yes.
That's worrying. Just speak to you for 5 minutes and I turn northern, which I know is not where the Midlands is. Any road. So we put this comedy notionally on the marble slab, or slob, as it's now known, and we prod it about a bit and see what we make of it. And this week, as I say, Richard Herring's BBC Radio 4 comedy drama, he calls it, so not a sitcom, and well, it doesn't have an audience, but I'm assuming from the sound of it, I could be assuming wrongly, but I'm assuming it was in the can before lockdown. But having said that, we're now 4 months into lockdown, so a lot of stuff can't have been made that far ahead. But hey, now I'm going to get a headline from you at the other side of one of two clips that we're going to play you, and so I'm not going to preempt that, and we are now liberated from second guessing what the other one's going to make of it, because that was such a popular item with us, if not everyone around the world. But to set the scene, it is, well, Relativity is a little pun about a family comedy. In a way, you could say it's a classic mainstream comedy, or at least classic for these times. And it stars, amongst others, Alison Steadman and Phil Davis, who I want to talk to you in a little bit more detail a bit later on, if I may, Shane.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Phil.
That's just... Yeah, and I realise I am. But the trouble is, once you mention one, you've got to mention them all. Gordon Kennedy's in there as well, and I think he plays a blinder. But we'll find out from Shane what he thinks of that, and that's not to neglect the other people who I haven't named. Before I forget, it's an Avalon television production.
Weird.
Which is an interesting concept for radio. But hey, that's what they're called, legally. I don't know if you've done the research on your favourite website, the Company's House website, Shane, but...
I haven't, no, actually. No, I haven't.
Slacking.
I know.
That's right.
I was just too freaked out by the fact that it was Avalon TV that made it, and and they were making it for radio. But yeah, maybe we can talk about that. So, should we get into the first clip?
Just to set the scene, this particular edition, or I should say it's Series 3, Episode 2. I'm rather hoping Shane's listened to the right one, because I've been known to listen to the wrong one and then have to go back and do some urgent homework. My fault for not listening properly. But essentially, Richard Herring, the male lead, his character name Ian, his wife is Chloe, that's her character name. She plays the part of being an actress, but she's played by an actress, of course, Emily Berrington. And I'll get Shane's view on them as couple and so on at the other side of our clip. But they have a young baby who is, as young babies are, a little prone to cry. So the episode begins, just to set the scene earlier on, begins with crying and an argument between them about whose turn is it to tend to the baby. That might be a very familiar theme to you if you're sharing care with anyone. It's worse than that. If you're not sharing care, I guess it's always you. Getting up in the dead of night or whenever. But I've fast-forwarded to sort of halfway through the show where we have a happier exchange between the two. So Ian is at home. It's his day to be caring for their baby called Donnie, which I don't think there's too many young Donnies around these days, but hey, maybe it'll start a trend. So he's at home. We hear him, as it were, in studio quality, and his wife, Chloe, is... she's taking a break from her, whatever she's shooting at the moment, filming. And so she's on the phone. And they get into a rather surreal discussion because Ian is somewhat neurotic about the welfare of his only son.
What if a stalactite of frozen urine falls from an aeroplane toilet and skewers him through the chest?
Fair enough. It's not very likely, though, is it?
Doesn't stop me worrying about it. I genuinely just put up the little parasol on his pram thinking that might protect him. Then I started imagining what you would say if you came home and there was a spike of urine through the baby.
Well, I'd be all Well, that's just typical of you, isn't it? You can't even take him out for one day without getting him impaled on a spike of urine. I was going to warn you to look out for that, but I didn't want to patronise you.
No, actually, by the time you got back, the urine would have melted, so all you'd see is a baby with a hole in him floating around in a pram full of urine.
Yeah, and I'd say, how did this happen? What have you been doing? Wait, this looks like more urine than one person could realistically produce in a day. And it smells like the urine of several international travellers. What's going on here?
Oh, why make me think about something this unlikely, though? What evolutionary advantage is this giving me? I hate my brain.
Do people have conversations like that? Is that a...
They probably wouldn't use the U word with 2 syllables.
No.
They might use a P word or just the word P.
Would they hammer a point home to the point of paper thinness? Would they? Do you think? Was there a point in that?
Hang on. You're assuming I think it was paper thin. Bear in mind, she is an actress in the piece, so I know you might not. Well, I mean, she could be any profession and be humorous and fleet of foot verbally.
Humorous.
Yeah, obviously didn't do it for you. What we want to know is, does this set the tone for the whole show for you? Because I think the clue is going to be in the headline as ever.
Okay.
Or was it just that scene?
Shall I do the headline and put you out your misery?
Yeah, please.
My headline is Relativity. In theory, it should be quite amusing.
Ooh, clever.
Aye.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Do you like that?
Einstein a go-go.
Einstein
equals MC squared. Stop. What was that?
It's all down my shirts. Because I've got my gardening shirt on, did it, really? Yeah,
I thought that was the cat.
Do you know, I had echoes. I could hear you.
You had echoes. You could hear... Oh, sorry. That was me echoing.
Oh, I was going to say that. I had it again then. No, I had echoes. I could hear you saying... I'm sure you said this. I hope you did, because I sound like some kind of fruitcake now, not... Or imagining that you said
As opposed to
a manna cake, which is how I'd normally like to be described, because it has more gravitas. Didn't you say something about you wouldn't describe it as a sitcom or something of that nature? You said
you were trying to be witty, which we know comes naturally to you.
That's not right.
Moi. It is described. And that's either Avalon or Radio 4 Publicity or Richard Herring. Most likely, I would have thought Richard Herring and everyone else follows. It's called a comedy drama. So you said rather wittily last week, not. No, you didn't squeak.
I thought it was rather witty. So I said, so it's not funny then. It's like,
of course, you thought it was funny.
It's like,
but it doesn't mean anyone else does.
They recorded it and then they went. You've got to change all the publicity. We've got to call it a comedy drama. Call it a comedy drama. That'll cure it. It'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, look, you and your conspiracy theories, it's quite simply that there isn't an audience there.
Do you know, I never noticed. I don't, and I'm not being disparaging to the piece. I genuinely didn't notice.
Well, it sounded like it,
but I don't mind either way. Do you know, sometimes I like to listen to, because it's more of a radio playfield then, isn't it? Sometimes I like to listen to stuff without an audience because, remember the Hancock Gafforders we've talked about before?
Oh, yes.
Is this cat just going to meow all through this episode? Hang on.
I think, can't she go in another room?
No, because all the windows are open, you see, and it's quite
can't
warm.
you go in another room?
I can go in another room. Just leave the cat here if you want. If that's
yeah,
be
it's
better.
more entertaining.
Do you think so? And so I don't know what I was saying.
You were saying about you didn't notice there wasn't an audience.
Yeah.
Oh, you were saying more recently, i.e. in the last 5 seconds, you quite like shows without an audience.
Yeah, don't you?
I think it should be on merit for each show. Simple as. I
mean, sometimes they'll give it an energy if you're recording a show and you've got an audience, but very often I feel like they say, I better get an audience in because it will then signpost to where people are supposed to laugh.
I think this particular one could probably work either way. What's interesting is we forget how odd it is, really. If you think, particularly TV sitcoms, there's an audience you never see. Yeah, but we've just grown up with that, haven't we? And it was the royal family, as we often recall, followed by The Office, which kind of changed the fashion apart from anything else. But yeah, I don't know. I think the jury's out on. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to see audience shows die altogether. But neither would I want to go back to the old days where pretty much that was the default. Everything thought of as comedy had to have an audience.
Yeah, yeah. But I genuinely didn't notice it. If you'd have asked me, did it have an audience or not, I would have struggled to recall whether it did or not.
I'd like to think I would have recalled, but we'll never know now, will we?
Which I don't. That isn't a criticism of the show. That is. I'm not criticising it for that. I'm just saying. I just didn't. It just didn't. It didn't impact one way or the other in that sense, really. So, but yeah.
Right. Well, to answer your question, I really enjoyed that scene. That's why I picked it out. We get to choose the clips the week we choose the homework, you squeaker, and I chose that. It was a close run thing between that clip or clipping the very top of the show, where, as I said earlier in the scene set, the two of them they're in bed. They've just been woken by the baby, which is screaming. And whose turn is it? While we stay on this theme, if we may, for a little bit longer, I was very impressed with Emily Berrington, and I now see she was in 24, Live Another Day. But you're probably about to tell me that.
I didn't. I've never watched 24. Did you watch 24?
No, I've got the disc somewhere, which I accepted as a gift from a mate when he moved. And, it's gathering dust in a cupboard, but don't tell him.
Probably too late to watch it now, isn't it? Everybody will say, oh, no, it's of a time, maybe, I don't know. But
yeah, it's funny that, but some things last better, don't they?
So who is she, his wife?
Yes.
Who played his wife?
Playing Chloe. I just thought she, contrary to what you're saying, I found her very natural and believable.
I had a real...
particularly before the scene that you were concerned about.
I had a real struggle piecing it all together as well. Who was who and how they were connected with each other, and
a bit mean of me to give you episode 2 to try and piece together, but it just gives you a bit longer. I should say it is on BBC Sounds as we speak for a good couple of weeks. But the trouble is, if I go for an earlier episode, then it won't be around for as long.
Yeah. I mean, because of that, it's actually 17 minutes in when I kind of figured it all out. But I am particularly slow, so I don't know.
I wasn't going to say anything like that.
My wife was in pantomime with Gordon Kennedy. Just sort of throw that in.
Oh, no, she wasn't.
Oh, yes, she was.
Oh, that's... Oh, if you insist. Well, he was in Absolutely. That's where I came across him first. And
that's right, yeah.
I mean, the original Absolutely goes back a long way. We've slabbed the Absolutely radio revival, in effect, of what was previously a TV series. Any beans to spill?
No, well, she was a kid when she was in it. So, but she was in it with Gordon Kennedy. I think it was a Les Dawson panto.
Fantastic.
But yes, she remembers him very fondly. In fact, we were talking the one day, and because of my love of comedy, I mean, Gordon Kennedy pops up from time to time. And I mentioned him or I got something. She said, "Is that Gordon Kennedy?" And I said, "Yeah. Do you know him?" Because she doesn't know half the people. You know, she wanders around with a world of her own. And she was in pantomime with him. So I was quite impressed. So
yeah, she would be.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, you were saying you worked on because I actually looked up Leon Herring.
Because I'd completely forgotten I worked on the show you're about to mention.
And you worked on This Morning with Richard, Not Judy.
Yeah, it was live on a Sunday morning.
A Sunday morning, was it? Oh, wow.
I think it was.
Wow.
And my guess is the target audience were students who hadn't gone to bed the night before. There was no way they were getting up for 9 a.m, making an appointment with their tellies.
Yeah. And it
was cult viewing.
And what was it? Well, you've been described as a... I don't think there's something wrong with that typewriter, but you've been described as a cult on several occasions. On Twitter, no less. But then it's predictive text is a bit of a problem, isn't it, these days?
I knew you were going to say that.
Is it
Do you think clairvoyants use predictive text?
Oh, very good, very good.
Moving on.
Any bean spillage with Lee and Herring?
Just a very nice show. The worrying thing is how easy I found it to forget it. That usually means nothing bad, because if they were nasty people, which they most definitely are not, I would remember them. I do also remember Kevin Eldon being on the show. Oh. And this shows you when it was. It was before New Labour came to power. And it was just a running gag which tickled me, which was Kevin Eldon's character. I had a feeling he was called Peter, because I confused names earlier. But anyway, he kept referring to Mr. Tony Blair's. It's just like my dad used to say Cliff Richards.
Cliff Richards,
which I think came from, it was Cliff Richards' Saturday night show. Right. So forevermore, to my dad, he was Cliff Richards.
Right.
No, Dad, it's Cliff Richards, singular.
But Keith Richards.
Yeah, exactly, plural.
It's a confusing world, isn't it? I tell you what really shocked me about this was that it came, I mean, all right, he's an older man now, but, you know, he came from, like, they were kind of very right on. Lee and Herring didn't really float my boat, I'll be honest with you. They were part of that comedy scene that I didn't find very funny. And I went back to look at some YouTube clips just to see, and I can confirm that in my old age, I still have the same opinion.
Right. I'm not surprised.
But I was really shocked how that he wrote this kind of thing, that was, you know, he was like a real right-on comedian.
Yeah, but we all grow up, and I'm guessing, I don't know whether you know off the top of your head, I did mean to look this up. You could keep talking while I do. I'm guessing this is autobiographical, but I could be wrong. Oh, he's got a band now.
Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, because I know he's made a big thing about moving out, hasn't he? He's moved out of London, like it was some great pilgrimage.
It is to a Londoner like me.
Some great pilgrimage to Hertfordshire.
To the M25.
I went to see the temples of Stevenage when I was.
You can mock. You can mock. What were you having a go at the other day? Oh, we can't commune our texts on that, can we? You were having a go at some London thing. London. Something like that. It comes spitting out of your mouth like green bile.
Cockneys.
Yeah.
But no,
it's because
there was all these, like, there's about 27 articles about the fact that he'd moved house, and I thought, well, I've moved house loads of times, and nobody's ever written it so much as a byline on a local rag about me.
Well, no. I think people listening will be filling in the gaps that you clearly can't. I'm just clicking on personal life. And,
he's hardly an A-lister, is he? If that's what you're alluding to. I mean,
wow. Yeah, but not many people are. No. I was going to say, I've written in my notes, national treasure. Oh. I know you won't agree. Yeah, but
alongside
I think
Myleene Klass. Jerry Halliwell.
Best in class. Did you know, this doesn't get us any closer to finding out if he's got a son. I can't see any evidence in this particular write-up, but he was in a relationship with the actress Julia Sawalha. Now, there are sisters, aren't there? Sawalha. I'm giving up on this. Is this your plan to end the slab, or as you call it, the slob?
The slob.
Ignominiously.
It's a slobcast.
Anyway, I think, without further ado, let's have our second and indeed final clip, as it now is. This, I think, is beautiful. I'm not sure. I think it will still work out of context, but obviously I'll try and give it a bit of context. It's just, to me, it's close to Samuel Beckett, but with laughs, which is about buttered Weetabix. Now, who'd have thought you could get so many laughs, in my view? See what you make of it, out of the concept of buttered Weetabix. But, I mean, you can tell, I think, that from his writing, that just how experienced Richard Herring is as a stand-up, because he is brilliant at setting something up and you think it's got away or you forget it, and then it's a classic comedy callback later in the show. So Buttered Weetabix was set up earlier on because there's a run on the milk in one of the households, and it gets a bit complicated to explain, but try and listen to the show if you can. in full, dear listener. So this is a double-hander, two-hander between Gordon Kennedy and Phil Davis. What?
I'm making my own jokes up, I'm sorry.
You are. I'm sure that drink of yours is laced. Anyway, so see if by the end of this you aren't converted yourself to the concept of buttered Weetabix.
Buttered Weetabix. Would you like one?
What?
I'm having one, but I've made enough for us both.
To eat?
Of course. I'd never actually tried one before this morning, and yes, I thought it was weird at first too, but once you've had a couple, they really start to grow on you.
Your love of cereal has passed on to your grandkids, Ken. I don't think so. Thanks.
Go on, live a little. Just try one.
Are you some kind of spreaded cereal pusher, Ken?
Give it a go.
Really? Yeah, you know, that's not bad, actually. Hey, do you know what might actually make this better?
Go on.
Hear me out on this. It's just blue sky thinking.
I'm all ears.
Bit of cheddar.
No.
Think about it.
There's too much, Pete.
People said that about butter.
You can't go that savoury. Plus, it's hard enough to get through the dryness already. You can't add clamminess to the mix.
He's right. I mean, I've never had it, but I'm sure you could. It'd be too... See, I wouldn't have said clamminess. I would have said clagginess.
Well, you see, I think there's a bigger laugh in clamminess.
Right. Okay.
Clagginess is too harsh.
I didn't think there was a bigger laugh in any of it, to be honest with you. I didn't laugh.
Well, you obviously haven't eaten buttered Weetabix.
Well, no, I mean, it's quite a funny thing. In fact, I don't know if you saw, I was just seeing whether it was a thing or not, and I came across that Bob Mortimer of Reeves and Mortimer had tweeted about buttered Weetabix, and he actually tweeted, he said, the buttered Weetabix revelation in this week's Athletico Mince is quite simply a life-changing curveball pie. And Weetabix tweeted back to him saying, nearly as shocking as finding out George Dawes is not a real baby. and then they mocked up a packet of Weetabix as life-changing curveball pie, which was quite good for a PR department.
That's sharp. Well, I saw a job advertised the other day for precisely that, someone to write social media, and it says, you know, the stipulation is to be able to write in different voices and to run with things very quickly, and the sense of humour. Obviously, that's the kind of person you need.
Yeah.
I mean, it would suit a gag writer, wouldn't it? You can't live by one, you know, I don't know, news headlines type show a week. It would be a nice steady gig for someone, maybe particularly at the beginning of their comedy journey.
Although you can't always do it for laughs, can you? There are times when you have to kind of step up to the plate and apologise and things like that. So I don't know.
Well, you get your less funny people in to do that.
It's interesting. Obviously, somebody and other people had talked about this in other comedy programmes, and it was the other thing as well. There was a reference to the tiger who came to tea, and I can't for the life of me think where it was, but it was the second reference that I'd heard in a comedy show that week. So obviously, these things are invading the same realm of consciousness of all these kind of middle class comedy writers, and they're all kind of, you know, writing the same gags around it or stuff like that. But yeah, it was the whole thing. It was very surprisingly Terry and June for somebody who was so hard edge, right on. You know, and Stuart Lee, he's still clinging to that life raft, isn't he? Now, that's his act, that's his shtick. You know,
again, that's a very, very negative way of describing it. You know, I'm a huge fan of his, and we did slab him in the early days. I didn't think you were quite so negative. You weren't fantastically positive either.
No.
I don't think it's a life raft. I think it's a life choice.
Right.
Anyway, we need to kick things along. I can only apologise since we've slightly reduced our clippage. It would have been nice to have a bit of room for Alison Steadman and all kinds of extra exotica. We didn't even get to the children, the Gordon Kennedy character, Pete's children. But for me, it's a bit of a corker, but whose turn is it? It's like the childcare thing. Whose turn is it to score it out of 5? I did it last week.
The children, by the way, they were another good example of unrealistic, unbelievable writing again. I mean, the one, I think it was the girl, so the lad said, "Chill out, little brother," and you kind of think, "Oh no, I'm sorry." you've lost me.
Well, it's
not.
sort of sarcastic, though, isn't it? It's in quotes.
It didn't work.
And
for me.
also, I thought there was some wonderful interleaving when they were hounding their dad, Pete, played by Gordon Kennedy. I thought that was very believable. But you obviously got out the wrong side of bed today.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's nothing to do with my mood. It was just, I just didn't think it was very good. I didn't think it was funny. No, and I certainly didn't. I didn't approach it feeling like that. But it just, it you know. And as we always say, that is just my opinion. That is just how I came to it. And you know, this is the same reason why people can roll about the floor laughing at something. And you can sit there and think, "What are you laughing at? I don't get it." That's the beauty of comedy, isn't it? Is that, you know, it isn't the same for everybody. Some people receive something different. Oh, sorry. Some people banged their head on the microphone by mistake. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's just, it was nothing to do with my mood or anything like that. I just didn't find it funny, largely. I mean, that was if I had to give one criticism, that was the thing, is that, you know, there wasn't a point where the Weetabix stuff I thought was the best part of the show. I'd agree with you there. But yeah, I just didn't. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it funny at all. And that's a key requisite, isn't it? If it's a comedy program, really?
I think so. For comedy.
But
well, we are opposites on this one. I haven't had your score yet, have I?
No.
It's not going to be generous. No, I'm guessing.
No.
Quickly, if you can, please.
No
more thinking time. Got to put the clock on you.
I'd go with a 2. I'd go with a 2. I mean, you know, it's great. There's a great cast there. There's do you know the other thing as well? I got to say,
quickly,
how many more programs do you need about like comedy programs about families? I think that dynamic has been done, hasn't it?
Well, no, because so long as there are families listening, people want to hear themselves and recognise themselves.
I'm amazed he gets commissioned. I really am gobsmacked that he gets commissioned, because if I was a commissioned editor, I'd go, oh, no, thank you. I don't want another one about families. I think there was a very not in-joke, but a very knowing joke where Chloe comes home and says, "Hi, honey, I'm home." That's Richard Herring saying, "Can you believe I'm doing," as you've sort of said, "Can you believe I'm doing a mainstream family sitcom?" But I thought it was done very warmly. Right.
So I'm going to give it twice as much as you, and I hope you're noting the separate scores as you promised last week.
I am, yes.
So it's a 4 from me, and I loved its warmth. I virtually disagree with you on every point, as is often the case in this dysfunctional relationship we have. That really, I mean, you know, like family sitcoms, in your view, our relationship should have ended years ago. But hey, we're stuck in this place. It's oppressive, but strangely, it's home, even though we're 170 miles apart. Right, very quickly.
It's home. We just don't know who to phone to leave. That's all it is. We don't know who we should call. Yeah. Well,
I said to Shane the other day, if you leave, can I come too?
Exactly.
But he didn't seem amused by that.
Okay, 6 out of 10 for Relativity.
That's relatively good.
Yeah, and that's a 2 and a 4 if you want it split down. Okay. So
Thank you.
Do that for you. There you go.
Right. Do you want to tell us very briefly all about the platforms we are available on?
Yes, we're available on oil rigs, stages, bandstands in parks.
We haven't got time for this. See, if you think you're so funny, that's not cutting edge humour, is it?
No, but you didn't know
that
I could.
Back of the class.
You didn't know that I could think of so many different platforms, did you? That was the thing. That was what really miffed you off there. You thought, he's going to do oil rigs and he'll run out of platforms straight away.
I thought you were going to do a Harry Potter at King's Cross, but hey.
Oh, yeah.
Mustn't encourage. You missed that one. What's that, 9 3/4?
I was doing Noddy Holder's shoes next. That was my next.
Oh, like what you did there. Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever it's called this week. I don't know. They keep changing it just so we can't hit it.
Apple Podcasts, yeah.
But yeah, we're available on all of those. At Comedy Slab, generally, if you just put Comedy Slab in all one word, generally that will find us.
Strange though that may seem. And if you put in @ComedySlab on Twitter, before you know it, you'll be able to follow us. Or do make sure you click on the button that says follow. And then, if that's not obvious, And also we have a Facebook page, no prizes for working out. That's at Comedy Slab likewise. Personal recommendation would be hugely appreciated. There's no excuse in lockdown. You can either recommend us over Zoom or whichever proprietary video conferencing you prefer, or you're locked down with your family. So do yourself a favour, do them a favour. Please pass on the message. And lastly, but in no way leastly, you mentioned iTunes / Apple Podcasts. If you could give us a huge starage, there would be wonderful. Thank you. A 5-star rating would be superb.
Homework for next week then, old boy.
That would be you.
Yeah. No, I was saying, would you like some?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was trying to move things along and then entirely forgot it.
Sorry, I thought I did it in a kind of rhetorical sort of way. Homework for next week
I
then,
think you
old
did it
boy.
in a very nasty, sarcastic way. I can always move this earlier. They'll never guess.
Oh, my God. You really are feeling... Is it your Brian May's bottom playing you up? Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
I think it is, actually, yes. You wouldn't let it lie.
Okay.
We weren't going to tell anyone.
Homework for next week then. My turn to choose, and I choose... Oh, here's a question for you. How are you with vampires?
Is it them that you bite a bulb of garlic and they disappear? Or do they disappear in daylight?
Or do they have to bite the garlic?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'll bite the bullet.
I don't know.
I'm not... No, I don't really like vampires, but you're about to make me watch some.
Brilliant. I've got a sitcom for you, all about vampires. Stars. Now,
See, can I just say, if I was a commissioner and someone said that on the phone, it would be...
Would it? It'd go
instantly.
You know you wouldn't. First you go, you haven't got anything like My Family, have you, at all? Have you got anything like... Or Outnumbered?
You wouldn't let it lie.
Have you got anything like
you
that?
Let it lie.
Or All in the Family? Have you got...
Your favourite? Well, actually, it's a family of vampires. Hi, honey, I've flown home.
Yeah. No, hear me out on this, though, because your resolve might be strengthened to watch this. Because it stars, amongst others, these aren't the main stars, but they're in it. Natasha Demetriou.
Your favourite from
Jamie
Staff.
Demetriou's sister, and it's a brother then.
Yeah.
And Matt Berry.
Oh.
See, now you've got your interest.
Oh,
peaked,
Matt
haven't
Berry.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Abandoned Ship. And it's called, do you know what it's called? Have you got this yet? Have you come across this one or not?
No, I haven't.
It is called What We Do in the Shadows. Not.
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Not the one about the 60s instrumental group, What We Do with the Shadows. Obviously, that is something completely different. And I thought we'd just go for series 1 episode. It's just, I think it's just done its second series. 10 episodes.
Series 1, episode 1.
10
you
episodes
interrupted
series.
yourself.
Yes, I was going to say. So
Yeah.
we'll start at the beginning, shall we? Because I don't know it, you don't know it. Let's not make it too complicated for each other, and we'll go for series 1, episode 1. What We Do in the Shadows. It doesn't have a title. It's just called The Pilot. So that's your homework for next week, old bean.
Fantastic. Not so much of the old or indeed the bean. I'm meant to say something absolutely hilarious here, and it's over to him to say something even more hilarious.
Okay, well,
so I haven't prepared anything.
So until next time, I'm off to secretly let down his cushion.
My whoopee cushion.
To see if it works any better with his Brian May bottom thing that's going on there. I don't know what it's all about. I really don't. We'll find out for next week.